Lindsey Port's running to replace a Republican in Senate District 56. She's kind enough to join us today to talk about her campaign. Hi, Lindsey.
Hi, Matt. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm very glad like I said, last time we chatted with you, you were in a primary. And I think that I mean, I'm a little biased here, but I was pretty sure you were going to be the nominee. Congratulations. I never got the chance to formally say that on air, but congratulations on that. How's the race against Hall been going here?
Thank you. It's been going, as well as we can hope. We are having great conversations throughout our district. We're doing great on the fundraising front. It feels like the district is ready for a change, and people are incredibly engaged.
It actually is remarkable when you look at that district. I am shocked that the DFL hadn't been able to pick that up already. It is a district that was one of probably the top three targets for the DFL this year. The district, and this is just as cities grow. I mean, the demographics, the population have changed. You've got a much more diverse population and a population that works and lives in the city. So henceforth, you're going to get more Democrats within that crowd. I think it's got to be given Hall fits trying to figure out how to sell himself now.
Yeah, absolutely. The district has definitely, changed since he was first elected in 2010. We're more diverse. We have a lot of young families have moved in, and a lot of folks have, kind of been pushed out of Minneapolis with rising housing costs and have found their homes here in Burnsville and Savage. And so the district has definitely shifted, but also I think, Senator Hall has shifted, or at least shifted the way he talks about what he's for. He's gotten much more extreme over certainly the last 4 years since Donald Trump was elected. And he's just not hiding sort of his extreme agenda anymore.
Well, is he doing what some of these Democrats are doing, or some of the Republicans are doing right now? Like I saw Garofalo is doing this, that guy Eichhorn up north, where they're trying to now play off. I think they're getting a little concerned about the amount of early voting that's gone on in the state, and they're concerned that a lot of that might be Democrats. So all of a sudden they're born-again moderates. And it's all tried to do that, or is he still on his extremo right-wing fringe out there?
Yeah, we really haven't seen that from him this time. I think his record's pretty unmistakable over these last 4 years. He hasn't been a moderate, and he hasn't gone to work for our district, and so it's pretty hard to walk that back now. If he would try, I don't think that people of our district would buy it, but he seems pretty content to kind of be riding on Trump's coattails, and frankly, I don't think they're going to get him very far this year.
Coattails anchors. Lindsey Port joining us, Democrat of the day for today, Senate District 56. So you've, of course, obviously now in the general election, talk about what are the issues that when you're talking to the people of the district, what are the issues that are coming top of mind? Obviously, I got to imagine coronavirus and this current pandemic and healthcare as overall has got to be one of the top ones.
Absolutely. It's for sure the number one thing that we talk about, that we hear from our district is people are concerned about the managing of coronavirus in general, and also how are we going to, what does this mean for small businesses? What does this mean for childcare? What does this mean for families who are trying to balance distance learning or hybrid schools? There's so much uncertainty, and really all of the pressure from this has just been put right on our families. This is not, we haven't seen, the federal government step up with an actual stimulus package since that very first one back in the spring. And since then, it's just been on, the moms and dads and the seniors in our district to figure this out ourselves. And people are looking for leadership that has some answers and that is willing to address the fact that we can't just ignore that this is happening. We have to, understand that this is happening. And healthcare is the number one thing that we're hearing about in regards to this. We've had a lot of people lose their jobs in our district, and with that, their healthcare at a moment when we have a global pandemic. So obviously, it's just showing already what we knew, that the system that we have isn't working. We need to make adjustments to it. and people, are feeling the pressure that they don't have time to wait anymore.
It's really interesting because Hall was like a lot of other Republicans where their initial thing was, oh, this is no big deal. The only way that was ever going to play out for them is if it wasn't a big deal, that if in, say, April, things started getting better, which they didn't, and they got a lot worse, and now they're getting worse again. And it's the longer we get into this problem with this leadership, and reminder, this is a sitting senator, this idea that, oh, well, we don't need face masks, we don't need social distancing, and not necessarily saying Hall is saying these things, but the Republicans say these things, that we don't need to kind of limit our activities, we don't need to kind of make sure we're being careful around other people, especially the elderly and people with pre-existing conditions. Mm-hmm. The longer this goes on, the more insane these people look. And it really is crazy. I don't think it's a good look. I don't know what Hall is thinking is going to happen here, but there's not going to be a miracle cure before the election. And surely if all he's doing is just repeating Trump talking points, well, that's not going to get anyone any better in Senate District 56.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think it's pretty clear across the country, not just in my district, but across the whole country that people know this is a real thing. We have 210,000 plus people dead in our country from coronavirus. Like, this is not a thing we can ignore.
Yeah.
And the folks who are trying to ignore it, it's not resonating. And people need a different answer. And so that's, we're having those conversations with people, and it just, I think this election, especially here in Minnesota, is going to be all about, can people vote? Can they vote safely? Do they feel comfortable going to vote? Are they voting early? Are they voting by mail? Just making sure that people understand their options and are able to vote safely, make sure their voices are heard. I feel really good about, where I trust Minnesotans, and I think that they've made it really clear here in my district and across the state that they want leadership that they can trust on this. And I think our job now is to make sure everyone votes.
Well, and I'll say this once again: you have my highest endorsement, Lindsey Port. Some with coronavirus, with this problem that we have right now, it presents problems that are complicated. And Republicans like to simplify things like, let's play football. Like that's some sort of solution to the school problems we're having. Minnesota Reformer just had a story out that said 1 in 3 teachers are thinking of quitting, of moving away. You also, and so you have an education system which is being challenged like it's never has before. Teachers who have never thought that this would even have to be a case are having to do hybrid models, online learning. It's very difficult. The demands from the parents are very high. And you do have the parents who want their kids to get a quality education, in this day and age, but we have to be careful that we're not getting, administrators, teachers sick, other students, family members sick. Talk a little bit about that element of this issue, because we are going to have some really tough conversations about pandemics and education in this country and in your district and statewide as well, because of the complexity of this issue.
Well, that's exactly right, Matt. This is an incredibly complex issue. There is no easy solution. If there was an easy solution, we would have found it by now. It's going to take innovation and teamwork and lots of people at the table having serious, hard conversations. I have 2 kids who are in elementary school, and they are in hybrid right now. I am incredibly thankful that they are able to go to school 2 days a week, and they are great about wearing their masks and staying social distanced. They have given up a summer of having play dates and being with their friends because they understand that, this is our responsibility to take care of each other. And there is not an easy answer for getting businesses back open and getting kids back in school. It means we have to get the virus under control. And in order to do that, we have to all do this social distancing and wearing masks and things like that. And, there are solutions to be had. I think, people are creative and are innovative, and they will find solutions. The problem is we're not even having the conversation, at least not on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
The conversation we're still having to have, as we saw again yesterday in our 4th special session now, 5th special session, whichever one it is. That's not the conversation we're having. We're still having a conversation about, is this even real? Is this even a problem? Is this even something that we need to step up and deal with as leaders? Mm-hmm. And if we're spending our time debating whether this exists or whether we should just open everything back up, we've wasted all of this time we could have been, spending working together, finding the best solutions for Minnesota families to get them back to work safely, to get folks back to school safely. Mm-hmm. There are paths to do that, but we're just not able to even have the conversation when we're spending our special sessions, trying to pretend that this doesn't even exist.
And I can't wait for when they hire the minority, them screaming about, why haven't you solved the problem immediately right now? I mean, you already know that's coming. And because they're not there, and you mentioned it, kind of alluded to this with Hall, they're not there to represent the constituents. Senator Hall is not there to represent 56. He's not. He is there because he is a placeholder for the Republican Party, for agenda-driven politics, for basically, maintaining the status quo and not helping the people. And I think that when this is kind of like, as I've said this numerous times, I think a pandemic is the absolute worst thing that could have happened to Republicans, because this idea of empathy and compassion and caring for their constituents and the rest of Minnesota, these are concepts which that party shed decades ago. And now all this, it's like I said, their only argument is to try to argue, oh, it doesn't really exist. And, at this point, when you have 2,100 dead in the state of Minnesota, I don't know how you can be that ignorant.
Yeah, I mean, we should expect nothing less from, I guess, a senator that, my senator also talks about how climate change is a hoax and you can't trust the science on any of these things. So I guess it's no surprise to me that he doesn't care or listen to the science on this as well. But I think, the people of Minnesota aren't buying that this time. Everyone in Minnesota, we have given up so much this year to take care of our communities. We have stayed home. We're wearing masks. We're social distancing. We're not seeing, my kids aren't seeing their grandparents to keep each other safe. And I think, we have been willing as the people of Minnesota to keep each other safe. And we have seen our leaders, some of our leaders just not be willing to make that same sacrifice or find the solutions that help make those sacrifices worthwhile. And I think the people of Minnesota are very clear when they're talking about what we need moving forward. Excuse me. And I think it's, leaders who are willing to stand up, follow the science, and do what's best for, the greater good here in Minnesota. And I think that's the kind of people we are here anyway. Mm-hmm. We take care of each other. That's always been Minnesota's way. And I have tremendous amount of faith in the people of Minnesota that we will come out of this stronger. We just need leadership that actually is following what the people of Minnesota need.
You, of course, everyone out there right now, once again, what are you doing to make the blue wave happen? This is one of the more winnable seats for the DFL. We need to take this seat. Nothing is guaranteed. Nothing you can take for granted. We've learned that lesson. We need to vote and make sure everyone is voting. Senate District 56, and it should be, once again, it's Burnsville, Lakeville, North Lakeville, and Savage, right?
That's right.
Yeah, there you go. So if you know anyone down there, call them. Make sure they're getting ready to vote for Lindsey Port. Donate. What's the website, Lindsey?
LindseyPortMN.com.
LindseyPortMN.com. I'll link to that. And as well, if you can volunteer, help out her campaign. We've learned this lesson. Contacting everyone in the district, that reaps benefits. And we can take this seat. This is very winnable for the DFL. Senate District 56, Lindsey Port. Lindsey, thank you very much for returning. I'm very glad. All my best. And I'm hoping to see you in St. Paul. I'm feeling pretty good about that.
Thanks so much for having me again, Matt. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Lindsey Port, Democrat of the Day.